On behalf of the Leadership Center and all of our partners and sponsors, I would like to welcome you here today. First, I would like to acknowledge all of those who have so graciously agreed to participate in this. Certainly Arizona State University, Banner Gateway, the town of Gilbert, Chandler Gilbert Community College, EduPrise and Step Up Charter Schools, the Gilbert Chamber of Commerce, Gilbert Leadership, Gilbert Public Schools, and Hickley Unified School District. So many thanks to those who have partnered and to the speakers who we are going to be just enlightened with this morning. I'm going to introduce Todd Werner. Where are you, Todd? Aha. Todd is the CEO of Banner Gateway Medical Center. I think that's the hospital that we stole from Mesa. Actually, in another life, I have an office that's right next to where this hospital used to be. Todd, would you like to join us up here? Can we give some applause for Banner Gateway for the sponsorship? Following Todd's remarks, he will be introducing the following speaker, who will introduce the following speaker. So thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, and good morning, everybody. It is really good to be with you here today. As mentioned, I am part of the Banner Health family, and I can tell you that there is no more important topic for our organization than helping to ensure that we have a workforce that is ready and able to meet these rapidly changing demands of the business environment. Within the major metro area, Banner Health represents 12 hospitals, numerous outpatient settings, and various support structures. All told, we employ almost 27,000 people, and so you can begin to see why this topic is of great importance to us. And so we're also happy to be here today to actually support this forum as we talk about getting college ready. Now, as you can tell today, we're in the East Valley, and as you might imagine, I'm rather partial to the East Valley, given that that's where I come and work each and every day. And I'm happy to tell you that Banner Health is also heavily invested in the East Valley. And I'm going to mention just some of the major organizations that Banner has in the East Valley. I'm going to start with Banner Desert Medical Center, Cardin Children's Medical Center, Banner Baywood Medical Center, Banner Heart Hospital, Banner Ironwood, and in Gilbert, Banner Gateway Medical Center, and Banner MD Anderson Cancer Center. So you can see we are heavily invested. Over the last 5 years, we've invested over $1 billion of capital to ensure that we can bring excellent patient care to the people that live in this part of the valley. And this includes the recent announcement that we're going to expand the Banner MD Anderson Cancer Center, as well as several outpatient clinics in this part of the valley. One interesting fact that our valley hospitals alone together took care of over 7,000 members of just the town of Gilbert itself. So again, heavily involved in the East Valley. And one of the reasons that we've been able to make this kind of investment and feel very comfortable about it is because of the leadership that we see. Leadership that we see from people like Mayor John Lewis. He and his team have been excellent to work with, and our projects in Gilbert. And as I think a big fan and a big supporter of business in general, and we certainly appreciate that. The good news from my perspective is that this type of leadership is visible all across the East Valley as well. I look out and I see all of you here today in this room, and it gives me great hope and comfort. So I want to specifically thank you, Mayor Lewis, for the role that you've played in bringing us here together today to explore ways that we can prepare our future workforce. I personally look forward to continuing to work with you and all these good folk in this room to continue to create a bright future. Thank you guys very much. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Mayor John Lewis, Mayor of the City of Gilbert, to come up and make some remarks as well. Thank you very much.
And Todd, it was a pleasure to be with you Tuesday night at the groundbreaking of that 111,000 square foot Phase 2. So my assignment, introductions. Dr. Croy, begin by introducing you to this group. These are some of the finest leaders in Arizona, and they have a specialty in education. right here in this room. Some in this room are veterans, some are really old. Some are 100 years old. To make this easy so you didn't have to go too far, seated right next to you, Dr. Dave Allison, could you please stand? And Dave, keep standing. Not that he's 100 years of age, but this week we celebrated the 100-year celebration of Gilbert Public Schools. And so Dr. Allison has accepted the assignment to give to Dr. Crow. He doesn't have to go a great distance, a gift from the Gilbert community. It's our history book. And it's titled From Cowboys and Sodbusters to a Mega Residential Community. It even has the mayor's signature inside, which I'm sure you can sell on eBay for a lot of money. Dr. Crow, thank you. Now, we are considering, it's 2013, changing the title of the book from Cowboys and Sodbusters to the community that was rated as the 33rd best place to live in the United States, or one of the safest communities in the United States, or even from Cowboys and Sodbusters to building satellites, growing algae, fighting cancer, conducting cardiovascular and stem cell research, or operating with 4 business partners a large airport. That's what we're thinking about. But when you see that title, Mega Residential Community, we also look back and realize, why did individuals want to come to this area? It wasn't, we didn't have a place to build satellites or grow algae and so forth, but we had a place where individuals and families wanted to come because of our educational assets. And one of our great educational assets, of course, is Arizona State University. And so, Dr. Crow, thank you for sharing the assets of the university. 2 years ago, ASU economist Dr. Lee McFeeters came and spoke at our Gilbert Economic Forum. In that forum, we learned what it would take to grow the economy. He told all of us in attendance, with empirical data shown, that in a year, that when ASU defeats U of A in football, the economy goes up. And so, our business leaders joined together and officially made Gilbert a Sun Devil town to make the economy go up. And it's been going up. We also thank you for sharing the asset right from our Master of Real Estate Development group at ASU. We have students right now helping us in our downtown Heritage District design the future. We also have, and this is very exciting, the Spark App Contest. Some of you will hear more about that in the coming weeks, but it's the first mobile app high school competition in the state of Arizona. I don't know if the Spark comes from Sparky, but it's more to spark innovation, and it's our partnership with the College of Technology and Innovation right here at ASU Polytechnic campus. And with that partnership, we're going to have some fun the next couple of months, and the apps are coming to the town of Gilbert to be used in the future. We thank you for sharing your assets. We thank you for sharing your asset of leadership. You recently inspired us at the Morrison Institute, State of the State, and at the East Valley Partnership Economic Forum. You have passion, energy. Patrick, we just found out, together, and most of the room, cheering for the 49ers against the Ravens. And then that leadership quality, because today is a leadership forum that is greatly appreciated, vision. A vision to build a new American university. A vision of sustainability. A vision for research dollars. Even Tuesday night, Dr. Crow talked about increasing the annual research dollars of $358 million to $700 million. And for the workforce and building that, to increase the number of graduates, especially with an emphasis on those who are 25 years or older. In the state of Arizona right now, 27% of those 25 and older have a college education. National average is 30%. Gilbert, we're proud that it's 38.8%, but we know that that is still too low if we are going to continue to build satellites and grow algae and fight cancer and conduct cardiovascular and stem cell research, and to take a nearby airport from 10 gates to 60 so that 20 million passengers a year will be coming right next to our ASU Polytechnic campus. And so if, for the leadership in this room, we were trying to find someone, a leader, who could talk to us about getting Gilbert college and career ready, who would we pick? And so now it's the short introduction. Please welcome our Arizona State University President, Dr. Michael Crow.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning to everyone. My voice is a little raspy this morning. I was very hopeful that last night ASU would crush Southern California in basketball, which they did, but it took one overtime and didn't get home till pretty late. And so anyway, my voice was from yelling. Don't miss that shot. Welcome to ASU, and when I say welcome to ASU, you need to conceptually understand what I mean when I say that. We have designed this university so that wherever you are on any of the 6 physical places that we operate, our 4 academic campuses, our research park, or our innovation campus, soon to be 7 locations with a 2nd innovation campus opening here in the East Valley in the next few months, you are at ASU. And what that means is that we do not operate as most other universities operate. We don't operate with huge levels of multiple layers of administration and all kinds of stuff that just add to our inability to make decisions or move quickly or be agile or spend it does add to our ability to spend lots of money, which we don't want to do on those kinds of things. So right now, sitting here on the Polytechnic campus in this facility, with newer facilities that we've just constructed behind us, with a range of academic programs going on here, with our partnership with the Chandler Gilbert Community College and all the other things that we've got going on here, you're at ASU, so welcome. The mayor mentioned our new American university model that always tweaks questions in the minds of people. It's like, well, I thought universities were old behemoths that were basically inflexible and not capable of making changes, so how could you put the word new on anything? Here's what the model is. Assemble the greatest faculty that we can possibly assemble, have them work at the hardest, most focused level that they can possibly work, have them compete against the other great faculties of research universities around the United States and around the world, and unlike many, if not most of those other universities, bring every capable, talented student to that faculty from every family without regard for that family's economic circumstance. So in the history of this institution, only in 2012 did we achieve diversity at ASU of students equal to the economic diversity of the state. That is, that we have talent at the university from every level of family income that is actually reflective of the family income distribution in Arizona. Now, this is an unbelievable achievement because all other research universities, for the most part, are moving in the opposite direction. Now, let me tell you why that's important. In the United States today, it is not the case that and we were not designed for it to be this way, that your success is a function of your parents' income. We blew that up when we told the people from London to get out and go back and take that kind of government with them. This was to be a place where each individual, based on their individual merit, would be able to move themselves forward on their own action. In the United States today, if you come from a family of the lowest quartile of economic well-being, but you are personally of the highest quartile of academic ability, you have a 15% chance of graduating from college. If you come from a family of the highest quartile of economic well-being, and you personally are of the lowest quartile of academic ability, you have an 80% chance of attaining a college degree today. The only way for that system to be broken down is to make certain that the great research universities in the United States, or some select few of them, model a different path. A path of success through inclusion around talent, a path of success around an unbelievably creative and talented faculty, and allowing every child and every student to have access to that. This is what we have built at ASU. This is what we are operating at ASU. This is what we intend to demonstrate for the United States to be the model of what a public university is supposed to be. So you need to know where you're sitting and what we're trying to accomplish within this institution. We have 17 colleges. One of those colleges is headquartered at this campus. The College of Technology and Innovation, Mitzi Montoya, our Vice Provost and Dean, she was here. She's moving back and forth. She's still here in the back there. She is leading the evolution of this unique college enterprise. And then we have several other colleges that operate on this particular campus, which is the way that we work. I wanted to give you all of this, and I'm just going to put out a couple of additional statistics to let you know that when I talk about innovation in education, we're not talking theory. We're talking blood, sweat, and tears to make it happen, because it's extremely difficult. When I took office in 2002, we graduated slightly fewer than 10,000 students from ASU. This year we graduated slightly more than 18,000 students. That difference, 8,000 students, is the total number of students presently graduating from the University of Arizona. Just to put that into perspective. That 8,000 additional students is more students than graduate from all but 9 American universities. I just want to put this into perspective. Now, you'd say, as we often are criticized, and this particular comment and particular set of criticisms comes from folks that don't know what they're talking about, and they really bug me, which is, they'll say, well, if you're graduating so many students, or if you have so many students, your graduates can't be any good. I'm like, oh, go back to your cave and light your torch. Oh, I forgot, you don't have fire yet. You live in a dark cave. A couple of indicators of the quality of those 18,000 graduates. A couple of years ago, the Wall Street Journal said that of the 500 universities that they ranked for students prepared to add value to American corporations, ASU students ranked 5th. Now, 5th is a good number for us out of hundreds of American universities. 5th is also the number of our rank relative to the selection of our seniors, graduates, for Fulbright Awards. 5th in the United States, tied with Berkeley and with Yale. Now, people hear these things from us, and it's like most of the local people around here, they're like, what is he talking about? He must be on medical marijuana or something. I mean, it's just there must be something that's just not working in his brain in the right way. No, it's the quality of our students is fantastic. We've also, in the same time, added or tripled our research activity. And by the time we're done, we will have increased it by a factor of 7. 7-fold, not 70%. So our goal by 2020 is to be as close to $700 million a year of research. There's 3 universities in the United States that have $700 million a year of research that don't have medical schools. One is MIT. And not 18,000 graduates, but 25,000 graduates. Now, to tell you the truth, back at the ranch where we hang out in my office, we're not really quite sure how we're going to do that. Turns out our financial world's quite complicated. But having said that, let me say that this is a very prescient topic. The mayor and the other leaders that have put this meeting together are asking exactly the right question, which is, how do you get a community ready for the future? And you get a community ready for the future by focusing on college and career and technical career readiness. Because the world that was the past is no more. It's really hard for people to understand this. It is no more. I wrote down a few things this morning as to why this getting people ready for college is important. First, you have to understand that microeconomic theory does not actually explain how the world actually works. It is a tool used by some to offer explanations that have varying degrees of value. The actual way that you should look at how the world works in an economic sense is evolutionary. Changes accumulate, and then massive changes result, and then things that were are no more. This is a force defined as the force of creative destruction. The old is replaced by the new. The new, which is driven by capitalism and innovation, is what drives America forward. And it is the case, according to these evolutionary theories of economic change, that every level of creative destruction that we pass through requires higher and higher and higher levels of educational attainment and educational adaptability, learning adaptability. Because each innovation requires a differentiated skill set. Each way in which we operate requires a different way that we move forward. Arizona's own economic adaptability index is not as high as we would like it to be. We operate this state at a level of economic energy where we're all in, and we average 82% of the national per capita income. Our economy is 82% as effective as other economies in the United States, which would mean that while our economy is growing, our economy is not growing as effectively along this curve of the changes associated with creative destruction. This is a critically important assessment to understand because it is both the American asset and the American stress point that if you are a part of the leading economy in a global economy and your economy is driven by innovation, if you for 1 second drop out of the innovation game, for 1 second, you're out. You cannot drop back. So our economy is built on the assumption of the forces of creative destruction. And creative destruction, a concept developed by a fabulous economist named Schumpeter, is the core concept that we all need to understand in this room. Tomorrow's students cannot be the same as today's students. What we taught in high school in 1970 is not, simply put, good enough. How we taught, how we worked in the universities, how we organized in the universities, how we did what we did, it's not good enough. Everyone in the world wants what we have. They want what we have in our society, and they intend to get it. And if you want to see the forces of creative destruction at work outside of the United States, they are unbelievable to observe. Second, beyond why this is important, educational attainment in the United States, and this is another sort of bugaboo. I meet these guys, I mean, they don't dress like cavemen, but they talk like cavemen. In 1940, only 75% of the high school age population even went to high school. It's not they graduated from high school. They didn't even go to high school. And it was completely acceptable. And I meet people today who wish for that world. And in 1940, only 50% of the population graduated from high school. That was an attainment. And I'll talk to people sometimes who will say, isn't it fantastic? You know, the country was so powerful and the country was so successful and we had the 1950s and the 1940s and our economy was so adaptable. Yes, we were bending metal. This was before microelectronics, before computers, before this, before the internet, before all these changes. And that level of educational attainment was adequate for that day and was wholly inadequate for this day. We reached the second threshold in 1970 when we had roughly 100% of students going to high school, but only about 70% graduating. So we were fantastic compared to where we were in 1940. 1970, 43 years later, no change. Our system is performing roughly at the same level that it performed in 1970. Every analysis that I have read about the future competitiveness of the United States says the following: that to earn living wages in the United States, which is substantially greater than minimum wages, to earn living wages, to be able to be a functioning person in society without substantial redirected income from taxes on others to support you, to have a living wage, 80% of the positions that will be able to generate a living wage will require a high school diploma and education beyond high school. Not just a high school diploma. And the high school diploma, if it looks, smells, or looks like anything that it looked like in 1970, it will not be adequate. Now think about that. Think about that. That's an analysis of what the future economy looks like. So in terms of high school going forward, the 1970s model, I graduated from high school in 1973. It was a very weird time. Very weird. It was just strange. My dad was in the Navy, and he just got out of the Navy, so I ended up going to 4 different high schools. In fact, I went to some of them more than once, so I can only count them once. I went to 4 high schools in 3 states in the 10th grade. But that model of high school, it's run its course. It's run its course. Second, relative to the high school going forward, the high school graduation requirements are a moving target. I hear this argument all the time: why do you think high school graduates need to understand Algebra 2? You don't use algebra. I'm like, well, I'm sure you can't based on your saying that. I'm sure you couldn't actually solve an algebra problem, but it's not actually about the algebra. This is what people don't understand. It's not about the algebra. It's about finding and moving people to the capability where they can solve for unknowns, where they can have 2 knowns and solve for an unknown. It's about that. It's about the conceptualization of being able to think at a higher level. How much uncertainty do we deal with? How many unknowns are there in any area of business or any area of society? The level of technical engagement of a nurse in 2013 compared to a nurse in 1970. The levels of decision making, the levels of focus, just taking that one increasingly technical profession. We've got to move away from the Socratic model. The Socratic model is somebody standing up next to some kind of writing device or some kind of projector device, speaking to a group of students, hoping that somehow wisdom will be imparted through fantastic teaching skills. Well, yes, that happens. And yes, that can be powerful. But if that's all we do, it won't be enough. We have to find a way to create, and we're working very hard at this at ASU, changing the way that we do things, dramatically changing the way that we do things, where we have to move from the Socratic model of the past, which is a thousands of years old model, which in certain circumstances is the best model, to an adaptive technological model. The Socratic model is one that was designed when very few people went to school. Now we want everyone to go to school, everyone to graduate from high school, 50% of the graduates from high school to go on to post-secondary education in the community colleges, the technical schools, or the universities, which means tens and tens and tens of millions of people. And we have to decide that if we have to offer that in small units of 10, 20, or 30 students with one teacher in front of each of those groups each time, and that's the way that it's going to work, I'm going to tell you, you can run the math on the back of an envelope. It will not succeed economically. The costs will never be containable. They will always rise on an ongoing and repeated basis, and it will financially collapse as we have seen it approach. It's true for us. It's true for K through 12. It's true for everyone. The central force in education must now be innovation. Innovation, which is extremely difficult. At ASU, we eliminated 69 academic units. Eliminated them. Changed our pedagogical design in more than 100 units. Changed our technological platforms, changed our methodologies, because the numbers that I gave you earlier, 8,000 graduates or 9,000 graduates up to 18,000 graduates, or whatever the number is, you get the rough idea. We did that with roughly the same sized faculty. We enhanced quality, maintained one of the lowest costs to an actual degree in the country, expanded our mission to expanded research, but didn't expand our faculty. How do you do that? You do that by altering structure and altering design. And the central theme here, the connecting themes, is the force of creative destruction must be as viable inside education as it is critical outside of education. A fourth point that I want to put down is the central role of the adaptive new teacher. In the past, we have produced and been producing teachers who are replacements for the teachers before them. Many are outstanding, valiant warriors advancing their mission and affecting the lives of students in profound ways, so don't get me wrong. We all had great teachers, we all met these great individuals and so forth. And going forward, I can only hope that we can continue to produce these individuals. But here's what we need a teacher now to be able to do that wasn't the case in the past. We need to be able to prepare a teacher who has the ability to learn anything. It's not that some teachers should be able to teach math. All teachers should be able to teach math. All of them. At one level or another, or at one way or another, integrated into. All teachers should be able to engage in various subjects in addition to their core specialization and be able to be prepared to learn anything. Now, how do you do that? Teachers must be involved in lifelong, continuous, ongoing education as intense as their students themselves. One of the ways that we see this work is at the university level, we are blessed to live in an environment where faculty members are teaching, but they're also continuing to master their subject, continuing to learn new subjects, continuing to move in new directions. This new teacher, this new adaptive teacher, we have these simplistic models that you hear from these simpletons. Oh, well, you only work X hours a day, X hours a day. As a teacher. Well, my response to them is, Do you know where it's really, really hot under the earth where you go? That question would imply that that's the path that you're on. And what I mean by that is they have no comprehension of what it is that a teacher really needs to do and how they have to be maintained in a way where they are an ongoing, vigorous, lifelong learner, period. That they are adaptive, that they are engaged in this process in a different way. We also need, going forward in terms of getting Gilbert College and career ready, to have multiple pathways. Our society is not what it was. Children come from various backgrounds and various experiences and various cultural paradigms. One of the greatest challenges we have at the university, and we have not solved this, is the child arrives and they are academically qualified. They're academically qualified for university-level work, and they fail. They are obliterated. Our teaching model, even at the university level, our teaching methodology, our teachers, our professors, are too rigid. This is the way. This is the way. I remember a conversation I had at ASU a few years ago with two genius young women, both in our engineering school, 3 of them actually. One wanted to be a rocket engineer, one wanted to design something on jets, and the other one wanted to build biomedical devices. And they sat down with me and my wife, who's trained in science and went to MIT and has this sort of scientific way about herself. And here's what they said. They were willing to say this, I think, because my wife was there in addition to myself. We don't fit in. The male professors and the male students create an environment that we're not familiar with. And so we walked through what that was. The use of fear and intimidation as a methodological technique in teaching doesn't work the same way with different people. Think of it this way. Coaches who yell and scream and coaches who don't. Sometimes they're both effective, but they're not as equally effective with each individual person. And so what I'm saying here, what I'm suggesting here, is that we need multiple and variant pathways. If you're ready to do college-level work in the 10th grade and you've decided and you've demonstrated your ability to do high school-level work and to master high school-level stuff, why are you going to sit around wasting your time for 2 additional years? So one of the things that we've done at the university, and one of the things that we're slowly evolving and devolving, is this whole concept of 4 years. Who came up with that? What's that based on? Nobody knows. We think it's some farmer from Indiana. Somewhere. You know, you're off in the summer, you get spring break off, go help your dad plant or, kill chickens or something, and so this thing about 4 years, where it came from and how it works. So we've changed our academic clock, we've changed our methodological approach, we've changed how courses evolve, we've changed how long courses take. We're now moving to the point where you're done with the course when you've mastered it, even if it took 1 day. And maybe it would take you 30 weeks. That's fine. That would be me in statistics. 60 weeks. But I eventually got it. So, what does being college ready mean? Being college ready means being life ready. You must understand that it is the prediction of those that make such predictions. And for those of you who think that nobody that makes predictions is ever accurate, we're not exactly talking about, this Mayan stuff. We're talking about where the economy is going and how it's shaping. One can probably predict that the steel industry in its historic form will not return to the United States. One can probably predict that the technological intensity of all jobs and all sectors will increase. One can probably predict that international and global competition to American competitiveness will rise. I won't go through the list of all these things that you can predict. But college ready means life ready. but life ready for the United States of the future, not for the United States of the past. It is anticipated that people will change their careers 4 times and their jobs 12 times. We hear this all the time from people. Well, why would you, if a student comes to me and they're uncertain about what it is that they would like to major in, I always give them the same advice. You should pick English or history. If you can master either of those, you'll have a great opportunity to actually have a mind that is actually free to learn around the complexity of which our society actually operates. Most people aren't brave enough to major in English or history because their parents are telling them, you're never going to get a job. The commencement speaker at this spring's commencement talk for ASU will be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, this current serving chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, an English major. The commander of Special Operations Command for the United States is a journalism major. I won't walk through the long list of all of these individuals throughout our entire society that are educated broadly, because what they were educated in isn't important. It's whether or not they were empowered to be a lifelong learner. So the thing that we have to do in terms of getting Gilbert college and career ready is to focus obsessively on innovation, obsessively on change, to accept no elements of the status quo, to measure everything, to relentlessly find people that can drive towards higher levels of learning capability, and to move every single person that doesn't know how to do that into another assignment or out of the way. If we're really serious about this, we've got to get 100% of our children educated to what we think of as the 2013, 2015, 2020 level of what an American high school graduate needs to know. The old model cannot do this. It was successful to point A. We're now moving to point B. So my job this morning was to get our panel ready. So if the panel could come up, we'll get going. And so thank you very much. So we've got a full range of folks here. We have a university-level dean driving a newly designed teachers' college through unbelievably painful innovations. A community college president working at the front line of America's stresses. Students who do graduate from high school, who want to move on, and who have had and experienced some preparation issues from time to time coming through high school, and among many other things. And then we have folks that are involved in community-level change in school districts. So I'm going to have each individual quickly introduce themselves, starting with Dean Mary Kerner here. Your microphone.
I'm Dean Mary Kerner, and I'm
from ASU.
From Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College at Arizona State University. We are on this campus. We are one of the colleges on this campus. We prepare more teachers for Arizona than any of the other universities in Arizona.
More than all of them combined, actually.
And we are in, and I have my PR person here helping me. And we are, and I'm going to talk about some of our innovations and different ways of looking at how we prepare teachers in your community right here.
Okay. Linda?
Good morning. I'm Linda Lujan, and I am the proud president of Chandler Gilbert Community College.
Can everybody hear Linda? Louder. Microphone's closer.
Can you hear me? Closer. I'm Linda Lujan, and I am the proud president of Chandler Gilbert Community College, succeeding Dr. Maria Hesse, who is now at ASU. Did you like that plug?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Community colleges are the chameleon of the higher education world. Michael, you mentioned that some of our students come to us underprepared, but many of our students come to us as reentry students, as honors students, as second career students. We serve a broad variety and have multiple missions. And you may or may not know that almost 50% of the undergraduates in the United States attend community colleges, and more than 50% of the lower SES, socioeconomic status, and minority students attend community colleges. So we're an important and vital part of the educational continuum.
Okay, Denise?
Dr. Denise Birdwell, very proud to be the superintendent of the Higley School District, and just as proud to say that my doctorate's from ASU. So go Devils.
ASU is your partner in other projects that we work with.
Many. Matter of fact, both these ladies to my right are partners with the Higley School District. And when we look at college and career readiness, that partnership is critically important. I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk about that a little bit later. I did want to mention one of the significant shifts in the Higley School District over the last 3 years has been a college and career readiness focus, and that came in a couple factions. One is all of our 8th graders take the Explore, all of our juniors take the ACT. That's allowed us to look at things from a national perspective versus just in Arizona. Because if we just compare ourselves with Arizona, the results do not lead us to where we need to be in our future when we talk college and career readiness. So we look at ourselves from a national perspective. That said, we've made a lot of curricular changes, and part of that's come through our partnerships with the university.
Okay, Dave?
Good morning. I have a my doctorate degree is from ASU also. And I was, just a quick question. Is U of A, do they offer degrees now, or is it just ASU that does? I just want to check.
No, they're doing very well. They're doing very well.
Good, all right. But not as good in football. Anyways, my name, like I mentioned, is Dave Allison. Superintendent of Gilbert Public Schools. We're about the 4th or 5th, it varies between us and Chandler, school district in Arizona. And during the past 5 or 6 years, we've had probably 2 major changes in our district. One being, of course, the financial problems that we've experienced, but also a change in our way of looking at curriculum and how we educate students and where we're going in the future. We adopted a vision statement 4 years ago, and it says, the vision statement is world-class teachers, world-class education, world-class graduates, because we know we have to compete with the world. I'll say more later.
Okay, Lynn?
Dr. Lynn Robershot, Enterprise Schools, 17-year veteran of Mesa Schools, and 18 years in the charter world. Opened the first charter school in the state of Arizona, the first charter to open as its own independent school district in the nation. And I've had the honor of working with the Arizona Ready Council, Dr. Craig Barrett, our own SOUP, Chief of Schools, John Hubenthal, and Rich Crandall had asked me to present Common Core and other breakthrough critical issues in education. And I'm just so happy to be here in our own neighborhood today and being with our Gilbert consortium here on leadership. It's just critical. Today I have to give a shout out is the kickoff for National School Choice. And so I know the mayor and Senator Flake and many others are going to scootle out of this meeting and be heading over to Enterprise where that kickoff will commence at 11 o'clock, 10:30 this morning. And then the Jonas Brothers tonight. So if you're not doing anything, come on down to the Phoenix Convention Center and we're partying there. But school choice is a critical piece of the educational reform efforts, and whether this esteemed panel knows it or not, they are all a critical part of school choice and those reform efforts, and I appreciate all of their contributions.
So you three are going to think about a question I'm going to give you while I ask these two another question. So here's your question. You're going to have to actually think about this. What's the single most significant barrier that you have to innovation? And I don't want long, elongated, I want the single most important thing that's between you and everything you need to do to innovate. And if the answer is money, that's the wrong answer. Because it can't be money, because most innovators actually start with no money. They start with an idea. So what is the single most significant barrier to your innovation? Now, while you guys are thinking about that, you two are going to describe in short order why has it taken us so long to decide that we actually need to produce teachers in a different way. It's like, can't we read? You know, it's like things aren't going quite the way that we would like. We've got problems teaching math, problems teaching science. We live in the most mathematically and scientifically driven era of our own economy ever, and we have these issues. Why has it taken us so long? Short answer.
I actually answered this question back in 1995 when I served on a panel of faculty in Colorado. And we decided we needed to blow everything up and reinvent it all because we were a victim of status quo, inertia, tradition, the way things always were. And that's not a unique conversation. That conversation has been taking place around the country for decades. I think it's time to do something about it. The recognition has been there for a long, long time. Yeah. It's the how. How do we do that given the bureaucracies that our institutions have become and have been for a long, long time?
And the boards.
Pardon? And
boards. Very complicated part
well,
of our
indeed. And they're part and part of institution. So I don't have an answer, but I will say it's time to move and make the change. The question is bringing people along. How do we bring good people along? Because so many of us in this room are part of that old system and came through that old system. So I don't have all the answers, but I've got more questions. Okay. This feels like a dissertation defense.
No. What I'm after here is why has it taken so long? Short answer.
Timidity.
What? Timidity.
We're afraid.
That's a good enough word just by itself.
Thank you.
Timidity.
This is why I'm a dean.
Timidity. That's a very good concept, just the concept of timidity. Boards are timid. Leaders are timid. All of us are forced to act in certain ways because there's a lot of reaction to change. There's resistance to change. It always is the case. So you guys have your answer? Single most significant. That's your word, timidity. And that's what I'm after. We don't have a lot of time here. So.
It's the inertia of design in the fact that there is a fear to design shift.
So inertia of design. So we have a designed system, call it X. That inertia of the design, that is we live within an organizational design in general, an organizational culture, and it's like how could you possibly reconstruct the airplane while you're flying it, and it might not even be an airplane that you need. Very important point. Dave? Single greatest barrier.
Culture. Let me give you two examples, just two quick examples. Last night I was at Campo Verde High School, which is hosting the state's student council convention. 1,600 teenagers in one gym. It was great. I enjoyed it. They had a guest speaker who was using his phone and also communicating with the students through Twitter, through Facebook and that, and they had all the students all of a sudden pulled out their phones and were communicating with him. A whole new world, as you said, from the 1970s. Another quick example, 4-year, as you said, 4-year graduation. When I came, 4 years in high school, and that's it. When I came here, I came from a different culture where it was could be 3 years, could be 5 years even, if a student needed that extra time. I mentioned that, and it was we should look at that as a new change. Didn't go very far.
So design, culture. Lynn.
My
short answer.
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing.
When you are outside of a system, when you are able to create from anew, as we were able to do 18 years ago. Absolutely nothing but imagination can keep you from innovation, and we are full of it. And that's all I got to say.
Okay. So let's focus on governance. Sometimes I feel, I even tell my own board this, that I report to a revolutionary committee appointed by George Washington, meaning I report to citizens in the spirit of American democracy, selected through a political process, who are now governing 3 universities with billions of dollars of activity, operating on a global scale. And I'm not arguing against citizens' governance, but in schools, public schools, charter schools are different, they're self-governed. In the United States, we have how many school districts? Anybody want to guess? Over 15,000 school districts. More than 200 plus in Arizona alone. Some are large, some are small, some are this, some are that. Question, is governance and innovation in governance a factor?
A factor is leadership. And you can find leadership anywhere, or it's a loss of leadership. And so I think that people who know need to provide leadership to change governance, to have them be less timid, less fearful, and do things that seem opposite. In our program, in order to increase teachers, we've raised the rigor, not the opposite. We haven't lowered it. We have higher expectations. So I think we need to impact the way things are governed.
Okay. Linda? I'm not going to go to every person for each question.
Okay. If we're talking about governance from a governing board perspective, we need governing boards who truly work what's known as the Carver governance model. Identify at the highest level the goals you expect us to achieve, and then get out of our way and let us do that and hold us accountable for doing that. If we're talking about...
And replace the managers if the managers can't attain those goals.
Correct,
right.
Correct. If we're talking about internal governance, we've got, we have too many siloed groups of people who are often so busy protecting their group's rights that they forget the purpose for their job. So we need to break down those silos as well and help everyone understand that they have a role in student success, and that it's not a we versus they environment, and we versus they is destructive.
So quick answers on governance, quick comments.
Critically important. However, it's not just your local governance. I would say that we've done what we've done in Higley and have become progressive and innovative because we've had great governance. The Gilbert district has great governance, great relationships with the town. We work together to make this a wonderful educational environment. However, it's not just local governance. We have state governance and federal governance that sometimes impedes the process of innovation.
Yeah, one of the things I think that people don't realize is that for all of the criticism that Congress makes of the agencies that are established, or that the legislature has criticism of the agencies that are established, they often forget that each and every one of them, with each and every one of their instructions, they act only, they're called agencies for a reason. They are agents implementing a set of instructions derivative of the political masters that gave them those instructions. They implement nothing else. They only implement what they're asked to implement. And so that's an interesting point. Any other quick points on governance?
Governments, we can't get away from it. It's the democratic ideal of the country. So we have to deal with it. As a superintendent, I have to deal with governance. Some governing board members come to the district with their own agendas. Some come with the agenda of doing the best for education. So we have to take them all in and work with them the best we can for the benefit of the students.
And just real quickly, governance, even at a federal level, impacts everything down, the trickle down. And so it's critical, again, that parents have voice, that be heard, and frankly, that we look at elements, and I know that one of you had mentioned this, that we are all effecting what's in the best interest of children, not agencies, not unions or not adults. What are we doing and what is our purpose? And if we don't have great governance, then we get involved in changing that.
So why is there an inability around teachers or the teaching profession as a group, obviously filled with dedicated individuals who are making their life focused on helping the next generation to come along? Why is this educational process of producing the teacher so challenging? You know, we seem to be able to produce engineers through a selectivity process. They produce a product. The product is the, well, I guess Boeing is having some issues, but but nonetheless they'll be worked on. And so teaching is a profession, nursing is a profession, engineering is a profession, business is a profession. But among the professions, there seems to be this angst or something about teacher production. So you two are going to focus on this, while you three are going to focus on to describe what you think you need to be able to hire. We'll pick 4 years from now. In 2017, the freshly minted, brand new teacher. Describe that person. So why is this teacher production thing so weird?
Yeah, that's my job, actually. A large part of it, along with producing research that helps teachers in their classroom. I think the last 30 years, the teaching profession has become a whipping dog for all the problems. Schools have always been the whipping dog for all the problems in society. And so I think what's happened is we can't attract people who really are agents of change, who really do believe in democracy, who really do believe every child can learn. And so we have this distribution of success in schools. It isn't all one way or the other. And what we want to do is make sure every child has a teacher who can indeed help them prepare for life. So to me, we haven't been able to recruit and keep the smartest, and I'm not
no, right, but let's say that's the case.
Uh-huh.
Why?
Because I think the teaching profession had a huge loss of energy and intellect when women had other choices. And so they lost a whole bunch of people that actually, when I was a child, when you were in school, Michael, no matter how many schools, you had women who thought this was a profession.
No, I had Mr. Trioli in the 4th grade whipping my hands with little rulers.
There you go. And when we lost that intellectual force, we took a step back. And what we're trying to do now is regain the status of really being a profession that's worthwhile coming into.
So the status of the profession, and this is true even in the university, we're working desperately to try to find ways to change within the university itself the perception of the profession of teaching. So, Linda.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
You guys getting ready?
We've all heard the jokes about teacher salaries compared to NFL quarterback salaries. So what do we value in this country? And we reward what we value. So I agree totally on status. I think the other thing, the other challenge...
By the way, on that NFL thing, I always laugh at stuff like that. So I don't know how many NFL quarterbacks there are, but let's say there's, including the secondary ones and the tertiary ones and so forth, even the Tim Tebow's, who doesn't appear to get a job. Let's say that there's a total of 120. 120. All those other people that wanted to be quarterbacks, they're doing something else.
Absolutely. I think the other challenge is we are trying to produce rockets on an automotive assembly line. We're trying to produce rockets on an automotive assembly line in our institutions. So part of our work is trying to figure out how to attract the best and then make sure what they come to produces the best.
So Lynn, describe the teacher of 2017. What does she or he look like?
Well, they have to have this career readiness focus, whether it's being acutely aware of the Common Core, whether it's being completely technologically competent, whether it's being problem solvers themselves. I am of the mind, just as every child can learn in the right educational setting, every adult can learn in the right educational setting. And I know that the lion's share of my job is reteaching teachers basic competencies. And I would love to see at our high school levels, at our college levels, that before we take teachers in, as you do in nursing, you were making the comment in these other professions, that we have a basic competency testing and a prescriptive result for them. A basic plan, an IEP for those teachers that say, you are fabulous in children, you are fabulous with technology, you are fabulous in mathematics, but your language components are weak. Therefore, at this university, we're going to prescribe this specific additional set of criterion for you to be prepared. And I think that way we can get the best, the brightest, and prepare those that were unprepared prior to that.
Right. One key point that you made that I think is really, really important is this notion of the teacher coming in as freshly minted is a rapidly decaying asset. That is, it is the case that the biology taught in 1990 is not the same as the biology taught now, or even the teaching methodology for literature may change. And so this is a problem that as our complexity has accelerated, as our knowledge has accelerated, as the world has become more competitive, we have not invested in lifelong learning for teachers so that their asset strength can be maintained over time. And it's a fundamental design flaw, to use that word again that was used earlier. So Dave, your teachers, 2017.
2017, and actually it would be nice if it was even right now. I would like teachers that are taught to be teachers, professional teachers. Teaching is a profession, and it's a very honored profession. Right now we have, and it has been the last 4 or 5 years, there has been a real emphasis that teachers should learn content. That is the big deal. If you know content, then you could be a good teacher. We've had a situation that was foisted on us, and I say foisted, I shouldn't maybe use strong words, but I will, foisted on us by the No Child Left Behind Act that said that all teachers have to be highly qualified. Of course teachers have to be highly qualified, but a teacher, because they're 1 credit short in chemistry, doesn't mean they can't teach chemistry. The main thing is, are they a good teacher? Let the districts decide, and let them hire who they think the best teachers, and not have it dictated by outside groups such as the federal or the state government. We know who are good teachers.
So one way to know whether or not the teacher can actually teach chemistry is when you have every student moving through high school take a test that predicts their actual capability of handling analytical issues associated with the knowledge that chemistry requires. And if teachers are then held accountable to that, then I would agree with you that however you get there is methodologically open, but you have to have some way in which there's actually evidence that the student has mastered by whatever means necessary the subject.
Absolutely, I don't disagree at all. But and again, it's that the way that chemistry teacher can teach that student to think through the problems and situations that confront the student that the teacher puts there. The teacher, of course, has to have that basic, or not basic, they have to have knowledge. And we'll hire teachers that have that knowledge, but we'll also hire teachers who are professional, who can do the things that you just mentioned, yeah. Lead them through that and have that critical analysis.
We experience this difficulty from the opposite direction, which is that we have unbelievably capable chemists who have a hard time actually teaching chemistry. And so it well, it turns out that if you're a PhD level chemist and you're operating in a research laboratory, you are a multidimensional thinker, or you wouldn't have survived the process that got you to that point. What we understand from the literature and from our own experience is that only 1/3 of the students that arrive at the university can learn in the multidimensional way that the professors are teaching. 2/3 cannot. 1/3, this would have been me, fake it. You know, you understand it well enough to get through the course with a B or an A, but you don't actually understand chemistry. 1/3 never get it and then constantly fail or get in trouble. And so one of the things that we have focused on is changing how we teach things to take out some of these variabilities of the individual human, where you have this methodological approach around this concept of individualized learning, which I'm going to come back to. But I want to hear Denise's idea of this teacher.
Well, let me put it into a simple analogy. It's the head, the heart, and the hand. And I'll go back to say that they have to have the knowledge. That's a prerequisite to the teacher. We want you to have that piece. I want you to have the heart. I want you to give up being a caring person, because quite honestly, when you're dealing with a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or dealing with a 16-year-old, you need to care, you need to be passionate about what it is that you're teaching. The hand is much more about the skill. The skill set for the teacher today and in the future is not what it was. So I need them to understand that the classroom is without walls, that they can go from a blended learning into a traditional learning, into a moment of lecture, out of a lecture, into allowing the student to engage with the learning process, have the flexibility, the skills to allow that to occur without being intimidated by the learner in front of them. Many teachers came from the pedagogy world, the world where I was the expert within my profession, and then I delivered my knowledge to you. And the reality
that's
a Socratic piece.
Socratic term I was using, right?
Yeah, and we are not that today. Our teachers need to be able to cross-curricular. I may be a math expert, but I still need to be able to teach vocabulary and writing. I need to teach reading and interpretation, analysis and synthesis. So the walls of education need to break down. The curriculum needs to break down. I need to easily transition from one to the other. I agreed with what you said earlier. Teachers also need to be able to teach mathematics. Every one of us.
All of them, yes. Mm-hmm. Integrating it into literally everything to
everything
the extent
that
it can be done. So I'm gonna give you like 10 seconds to think about this one. So I have this whole list of things that just drive me crazy. And luckily for me, I live in a world that's very similar to the movie Groundhog Day. So I'm the Bill Murray character waking up every day just repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. So luckily I wake up happy every day regardless of these things that drive me crazy. And so it drives my wife crazy, but that's all right. And so what is the thing that when each of you are done with your careers, you wish that you had been less timid about, and that you would be willing to sacrifice yourself, even now at this stage of your career, to accomplish? Because leaders have to be willing to sacrifice themselves. If you're not willing to sacrifice yourself, you're not close enough to the edge. You have to be willing to spend the political capital that you gain, and sometimes you spend so much, you're able to gain the 15 yards necessary to make progress before your leg is broken and they drag you off the field. But at least the ball is further down the field. So who wants to go first? Mary.
So it's really hard to live on that edge at ASU, because no matter what I do, you and the provost are always like, okay, that's a good idea. Yeah. You know, so I think the context defines it. No matter what wild idea I come up with. I would blow off certification. Just stop it. Say we're going to recruit really smart people who really know how to think, are intellectually alive.
Want to be teachers.
They want to be teachers the rest of their lives.
Yes, they've already decided.
And they don't love children. Parents love children, but they respect children. And they respect the individual children because they have a commitment to the community, they have a commitment to the United States of America, and they have a commitment to the moral lives of people on this earth.
So that's what drives you crazy, and that's what you would work to blow up. So
totally blow up the certifications.
Well, you should start using some of your political capital to get that job done. So what about Linda? We're not holding you back.
And I'm
not being held back by us.
Nope.
Just being held back by being afraid.
And I talked about it earlier. If I could blow it up,
it would be... I don't know if people can hear it, Linda.
Right,
so.
Can you hear me? I talked about it earlier. If I could blow it up, it would be the artificial structure that constrains education. You talked about the 4 years. Yes. You talked about the 15 weeks. Yes. You didn't talk about, but you would have, the 50-minute hour, or yes. all of the structures.
Stupidest stuff I ever heard of.
Right, and I would blow it up. But personally, when I look back, the things I regret are the times I didn't stand up for the students, when I didn't fight hard enough for the students and gave in to an employee group or an individual employee. And that's our job as leaders, to say this is right for students, and I'm sorry.
Well, you still got time to do that, and you know they can't kill you. So.
Dr. Crow, I just have to say I've been living that for the last 5 years. Anybody that knows the Higley District knows where we were 5 years ago to where we are today. Every day I'm taking a risk. Every day we're being innovative, and that is why we are where we are. We're in the top 5 in the state right now. In Maricopa, we sit right aside with Chandler and Gilbert. We have a great community over here in the East Valley. But it is because we take chances, we take risk, we're innovative. If there was one thing I'd blow up, get the rocks out of the road and let us go faster. That's the piece in my career.
See that camera right there?
Let us go faster. And that's the part of the educational system that probably in my career, if there was something I could do, the old adage has always been, go slow to go quick. Oh my, we go really slow in the educational field. So if there was one thing I could change, let us go faster.
Who thought up that go slow to go quick? Was that like somebody in France?
I don't know, but it holds us back from innovation. We need to move quickly because the kids do not have the time. They're going to graduate and go to you at the university. We have a very short time of their life to prepare them, and we need to move quicker in innovation to make sure that we're on target for our children.
So Dave?
As you can tell by just looking at me, I've been in this game a long time. I'm older, and I look back. Certainly, I look back on what I could have done, what I should have done, and things like that. And I agree certainly with Denise. There are times when I should have, and I mentioned the word culture earlier, when I would have liked to have changed the culture because it would have been for the betterment of students. Anything that I'm thinking about what I should have done differently would have been better for the students, and that is our superintendent's first responsibility. It's not with governing boards, it's not with teachers, it's with students. And so in regards to that, if that's a regret to change the culture, especially in the area of curriculum and instruction and in content. And I think that would have helped, as Denise said, to move faster, quicker.
So one thing that's great about leaders such as yourself that have accumulated what I think of as organizational or political capital is that as you move towards the end of your appointment or whatever that is down the road, you don't need any of that after you're in that, and you can't take it in your grave with you. So it is good to spend every penny of it right down to the last second to make whatever these changes are that you need done, because I mean you build it up to spend it. Lots of leaders, I'm not picking on any of you, lots of leaders accumulate political capital and are smiling out the door having spent none of it. And I'm like, well, why did you accumulate it? Your job is to accumulate it, to use it, so that you can advance things. So last, and then I've got one lightning round wrap-up question.
Well, I've got to tell you, it doesn't matter what accolades you have in education, you know, whether Eduprize, the top science school, highest scores in the state. It doesn't matter that we're called the crown jewel of education by the Advanced Ed Accreditation Committee in 2012. It doesn't matter all of the individual accolades you get. Dr. Saharis had something really fabulous to share with me the other day. He said, Lynn, for 18 years you've done this in Maricopa and Pinal County, and you've done it with a varied, mixed group. One clientele that comes up to 30 miles each way each day to have your educational opportunities. And then, of course, in Pinal County with a far more at-risk group. We opened Step Up Schools this year. And again, that's thanks to Cynthia Dunham and her committees and Mayor Smith. But what we did, because one of my regrets for 18 years was I had not spent my political capital going back to the original vision of opening the best of the best schools with the best and the brightest to the most at-risk population, the most at-risk zip code in the state of Arizona, because you're always told there's other reasons why this won't work. Well, guys, I'm here to tell you that it does work, and you can make a difference. And as Dr. Crow was talking about, you know, the valuation and just the vision of having that differentiation across the board for the students that you educate. It is critical that we do the same for all of our students, no matter what their economic background. And don't take no for an answer, because when you're told by a facility board, I'm sorry, you're a charter school, you're an alternative school, you can't have funding, I'm sorry, you're a charter school, you get $1,600 less than every other district school, much less you don't get bonding and override money. It is true, we'll go through the dollars.
Remember, we're trying to focus on, we're not going to put that poster up.
No, I just want to show you.
We could have that debate.
Oh, okay. What I want to tell you is anything, it's just a picture of a building. Anything is possible.
But remember, we're focusing on your particular
vision and
yes.
political capital. What I'm excited about, as Jim Sahara said, is we can take models, the great things in Gilbert that have happened, the great things in Kyrene that have happened, the great things in Higley that have happened, the great things at ASU, and we need to place this political capital at the federal level so that we get the accolades that Dr. Crow deserves for what he's done for ASU and what we do in school reform and in our districts here in Arizona. Critically important.
So now we're going to go to the lightning round. So one of the things that I think is kind of funny about Arizona is that the Arizona Republic is like reading the daily psychiatrist report. And so it's like this self-analysis of every weird thing in your life, every bad thing that's happened to you, every bad thing that might happen to you. So you're interacting with your psychiatrist, the state, and the psychiatrist is publishing the report, meaning there's this overly negative rhetoric about education in Arizona. One of the things that we're working on in my office at ASU is to put together the data that actually compares Arizona not as a state, but compares Arizona with other regions of the United States with high flux populations, high minority populations, high lower income populations, and how are we doing relative to them. On the assignment that we have, it turns out we're actually better than most. And evolving faster than most and moving in the right direction faster than most. And so the last question I have for you is, for each of you, for something not related to your school or your program or your model, what's the most positive thing happening in Arizona? I made it harder, not related to you in education. 1 or 2 or 3 words. We're going to start with Denise.
You know, I'm going to go to the Common Core in the park. What's happening nationally is revolutionary in education. And when we tie all those pieces together to college and career readiness with the Common Core in the park, we're going to make a difference.
Okay. Linda?
I think the most exciting thing happening, not related to me, that's tough.
Yes.
Our legislative will to begin to attract business and industry to Arizona. And to spend money doing it. It doesn't sound like it's related to education, but it really is all about education and creating jobs for our students.
Okay, Lynn, everybody quickly, the 3 remaining, quick.
I agree with Denise. The Common Core is a huge paradigm shift and is absolutely raising the bar for all of education.
Okay, Dale?
In terms of Dave, yeah. I've been called worse.
That's right.
Anyways, talking to my colleagues who are superintendents, principals, teachers, in some of the higher risk areas in Phoenix and and the job that they are doing with students that every day that come to them with needs and everything from home environments, and the school being the safest and the best place for those students, and what those educators and teachers and everybody involved with that school system is doing for them. And that, again, that's the power of a public school system.
Mary?
I would say...
I gave her the longest to think about it because...
I know, and I'm torn.
Yes.
But I'm going to use political capital.
It just means that there's more weight on your answer.
I know. I think the increasingly high level of discussion about immigration in Arizona and the impact that has on the workforce and schools, and what that really means in terms of how we live our lives.
You mean the less destructive conversation? Let's thank the panel. think we're transitioning.
Thank you, Dr. Crow. Well, yeah, one more round of applause. And for those of you who know me, yes, for the last hour I have been silently humming the U of A fight song. Okay, 3 questions. How many of you are U of A graduates? I like the odds. How about you? Second, how many of you are Town of Gilbert employees? I want you to look at this. These people are here on their days off. Friday is their day off. This is part of the leadership and the community that we call Gilbert. All right? And I've forgotten my third question. Gilbert leadership graduates. For those of you who haven't raised your hands, go to the Gilbert Chamber of Commerce website, look and research the Gilbert Leadership Development class. I know it really doesn't have much to do with the topic, but I'm a graduate, I'm on the board, I got the microphone, I'm going to plug it. Didn't Dr. Crow do a great job? I was really impressed. Now I'm going to put you all to work. Actually, I've been told that I'm going to put you to work. We are going to have a list of questions put up before you. You have sticky notes, you have ASU tablets. For the next half an hour or so, I would like you to spend time within your table answering the 6 or 7 questions that are going to be put up before you. And while he's doing that, well, there's actually, Cynthia, they're numbered 5 questions, but there's actually 7 or 8 questions. It was like I wrote it. So, as we're getting these up, the questions that I want you to ponder and answer. All right, number 1, what initiatives or processes does the town of Gilbert currently have in place to enable students in their college and career readiness? Are these working? Are there additional partnerships or strategies that could further enhance or assist? 2, what are the long-term economic impacts and results reaped by the town of Gilbert from helping Gilbert to be college and career ready? 3, how do we create, attract, support, and retain the best and brightest employees and leaders? 4, how do we pay for it and who is responsible for funding? Money is important. How are there partnerships or strategies that could be employed to gain or improve access to resources? And 5, based on the information gleaned from today's meeting, how will you take responsibility to see that Gilbert becomes college and career ready? These are up in front of you, so I didn't have to speak slowly and have you write them all down. Please answer these questions in your tables at 9:45. I will come back to the microphone. I want each table to select a spokesperson, and then we'll go from table to table and give us 1 or 2 of your best ideas. Pencils up, Post-it notes unwrapped. Please enjoy. As I walked around this room, I knew people at each table, but what was more gratifying to me were the numbers of you who I have not met and hope to do so in the future. It tells me that we retain the commitment by our leaders, our educators, our business people, and our regular citizens to come out on a day like this. Some of us on our day off, some of us taking valuable time away from our work, even a high school senior. I accused his mother of bringing him along as a ringer, but you know, it's really great to see. What's that? Always thinking. Christine is like that. So, again, fill out the yellow sheets. We need that so that the next to these that we do are even better and more appropriate to what you're looking for. Thank you for coming out today. Safe travels. And remember, Mike is going to give a tour for those who would like to see the new buildings here. Thank you on behalf of the Leadership Center. Thank you on behalf of the town of Gilbert and ASU.